Hey guys, Alex here. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I will be sharing with you the differences between a pre-selling property and a ready for occupancy property. So I decided to make this video because a lot of my clients actually ask me similar questions, especially those who are first-time home buyers. So there are notable differences between a ready for occupancy and a pre-selling property. And there are also pros and cons to it. So I guess it will just depend on your situation, where you're at right now, as to which type of property will be best for you. Okay, so let's begin. So there are four main differences between a ready for occupancy and pre-selling property. The first main difference is the financing. So when it comes to pre-selling properties, developers typically offer different types of financing, and they're also a lot more flexible. So I'll be summarizing the four types of financing real quick. So first is they have cash. So when it comes to cash, usually developers have a set discount already. So there's no really haggling with them because they just have a set discount, usually 8 to 10% of the net contract price. And then second is they have deferred cash. So you just take the total contract price and you split it evenly between a span of 12, 24, or 36 months. It depends on what term the developer is offering. Most developers are offering 24 months. So let's say the house is 2 million pesos. So 2 million divided by 24 months, then that's your monthly amortization to the developer. So the advantage of deferred cash is that there is no interest. It's interest free, so you'll be able to save on the interest. But the disadvantage also that the monthly will be quite, because you're taking the total contract price and dividing it over only 24 months. But I still have clients who still go for deferred cash, especially if they are high income clients. So they prefer to save on the interest and they would rather pay huge amounts monthly, just so they wouldn't have to pay. So it depends on your situation again, which type of financing is best for you. And then third is pag-ibig or bank financing. So usually for pag-ibig or HDMF, Housing Development Mutual Fund, for pag-ibig or bank financing, the requirements are similar, although pag-ibig has more requirements compared to banks. And when it comes to developer pre-selling properties, it will depend on that particular project, which bank is accredited to that project, or if it's accredited to pag-ibig as well. So it will depend on the project because the accreditation is different per project. So for example, for this particular project, it's only accredited with 3 banks. So the buyer will only be able to choose between the 3 banks that are accredited to that project. So with bank financing, usually the equity can be paid over a period of time at zero interest. So that's one main advantage between a pre-selling for a pre-selling property compared to a ready for occupancy property, because the equity is very flexible. It can be paid off over 12 months, 24 months, or 36 months, depending on the developer, what term they're offering. Some developers offer 30 months to pay. Some even offer up to 45 months to pay. So Tabulan Masters just launched their newest project here in Cagayan de Oro. They're offering 45 months to pay for the equity. So why would they do that? Usually developers do that if the turnover is also like 4 years, let's say, because the turnover for this project is 4 years. So because the turnover will be in 4 years, then the equity can also be paid in 4 years, or in 3 years and 7 months exact. So the span of time in which the buyer can pay for the equity will depend on the discretion of the developer. And usually the developers will match it to the turnover. So some developers offer 12 months, some 24, some 36, and so on. And then the fourth type of financing is in-house financing. Although not all developers offer this, and I wouldn't really advise it because it has a quite high interest rate. So usually in-house financing have interest rates between 15 to 19%. So it's very, very high. And there are buyers who go for this because the only buyers who go for in-house financing are those that don't get approved for bank finance. So again, that's the four types of financing for pre-selling properties. Now let's go to ready for occupancy properties. So with RFO properties, there are two types of financing basically. So first is cash, second is bank financing. There are some private sellers that do offer deferred cash, but the term is very short. Usually it's months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months maybe. So that's just the usual term. But the usual payment schemes that sellers offer buyers is either cash or bank financing. So when it comes to bank financing, unlike with developers, also have a fixed equity. So for example, they have like 10% equity, or the equity of developers is usually between 10 to 20%. So that's quite low. And especially if it's at the 10% range, because the buyer would then have 24 months, let's say, to pay for 10% equity. So that's why the equity, the monthly amortization would then become very affordable. So for ready for occupancy properties, the process is that the buyer applies at the bank, and then the bank will then go to the property and appraise it. So whatever is the appraised value, the borrower can then loan up to 80% if it's a house and lot, and 70% if it's a lot or a condominium. So let's say the property is priced at 1 million or 1.5 million. So it doesn't mean to say that the appraised value will also be the same as the selling price. Because remember, banks are very conservative. Usually the appraised value is lower than the selling price. So that's the trend. So how much is the down payment? The down payment will then be the difference between the total contract price and the loanable amount. So let's say the total contract price is 1.5 million and you can loan 1 million. So 1.5 minus 1 million, that's 500,000. So that will be your down payment. And then, of course, you have to add your taxes on top of the equity. So how do we compute the tax? So the rough estimate would be 9.5% of the selling price on the deed of sale, or the zonal value, or the market value, whichever is higher. So I will also make a separate video on the different taxes to be paid when it comes to real estate purchases. So that's another video. Okay, so again, number one difference between a pre-selling and a ready for occupancy property is financing. Pre-selling, more affordable, easier to pay off because there's no bulk cash out. You can pay off the equity in easy monthly installments. But for RFO properties, you would need to prepare a bulk amount of cash to pay for the equity and the taxes. The next difference is availability. So when it comes to pre-selling, that's why it's called pre-selling, because the units still have to be constructed. Some developers even start pre-selling the property while they're doing land development. So that's why there are subdivisions that take 4 or 5 years before they get turned over, because the developers still need to do land dev, and then they need to build the house, the unit. So the developers develop a project into phases. First is land development, wherein they need to bulldoze the terrain, make it flat, make it buildable. They build the roads, they put in the electrical posts and all the water, the plumbing, so all that stuff. And then after that, they then proceed with the construction of the property. So for pre-selling properties, usually you would have to wait. If a subdivision is already finished, then usually construction time will take about a year. But if it's the area still needs to be developed, then it may take longer, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, depending on the timeline of the developer. Usually it's about 2 to 4 years. But for RFO property, RFO, meaning ready for occupancy, you can already occupy the property as soon as you have fully paid for the property. So when it comes to buyers who are purchasing through bank financing, usually turnover of the property is upon full down payment plus loan takeout. And then next difference is the amenities. So for pre-selling projects, usually developers have a set number of amenities within their project. Like for example, usually they have a basketball court, a clubhouse. Sometimes they also have a swimming pool, a gym. So if you are buying a pre-selling property, then you already know the amenities that you can enjoy once it's turned over to you. For RFO properties, it will depend on the location of the RFO unit that you're purchasing. So if it's inside a subdivision with these amenities, then you can enjoy the same amenities of pre-selling properties. But if the property is located outside a subdivision, then there will be no amenities. So it's up to you. And then the last difference between a pre-selling property and a ready for occupancy property is the unit condition and finish. So developers sometimes offer two types of finish, bare or complete. So for bare finish, there's still no tiles, so it's only cement finish. There are no partitions yet. The interior is not yet painted. Just the first coating is done, but not the no final coating yet. So there are some buyers who prefer this because they want to be the one to choose the color of the tiles. They want to be the one to choose the layout. But if you prefer to move in immediately or to not do so much work before moving in your property, then you can choose a completely finished unit. So if it's completely finished, it's also a bit more priced higher than a bare unit. The difference will depend on the developer. Not all developers offer this, but for one developer that offers it, Pablo de Oro, usually the difference is around 200,000 between a complete and a bare unit. So let's go to RFO. For our ready for occupancy houses, they often come either completely finished, semi-furnished, or fully furnished. So because some owners, they prefer to leave some of their furniture or some of their appliances inside their homes. They don't take them anymore with them when they sell their houses. Or even builders, they semi-furnish a unit so it's easier to sell. So that's why you have these options when it comes to RFO unit. Okay, so that's it. Those are the four main differences between a pre-selling and a ready for occupancy house and lot. So again, let me summarize them. First is financing. For pre-selling, it's more affordable and easier to pay off, noble cash out. For RFO, you will need to have cash on hand for the equity and the tax payments. And then second is the availability. So RFO units are already available, while pre-selling units still have to be constructed. And then the amenities. Pre-selling properties already have amenities within the area, while RFO may not, especially if it's located outside a subdivision. And then last is the unit finish. So for pre-selling, it can be either bare or complete, while for ready for occupancy unit, it can be completely done, semi-furnished, or fully furnished. So that's it for the four main differences. I hope you learned something new from this video. And if you did, if you have, then please comment what you learned in the comment section down below. If I missed anything, then you can also add. Comment also whatever I missed. If I missed another key differences between a pre-selling and an RFO unit, then please comment so that I can also learn from you. So please don't forget to hit like and subscribe to my channel so that you will be notified if I have new videos like this. Till next time.